I welcome you to the fourth year event of the architectural competition for the reconstruction of the destroyed Palestinian villages. As you know, this has been a difficult year, but due to the combined efforts of our jury and our students and their supervisors, we have managed to keep on time. Why we are here today? Because we are dealing with a historical disaster or calamity. In 1948, the Zionist conquest of Palestinian depopulated villages, 560 of them, and the Israelis made refugees out of 2/3 of the Palestinian people. And they are refugees till today. There are now, today, 7 million Palestinians who are refugees within sight frequently of their homes, but they cannot go back to them. Their determination to return has never waned over these years. The Nakba of 1948 is one big lasting crime. But there are other crimes after that. And the other crimes are, first of all, to prevent the return of refugees back to their homes, and moreover, to make that possible or impossible, Israel systematically destroyed most of these villages over 15 years period. So did these war crimes deter Palestinians from the quest to return home? No, they did not. No, never they will do that. Now, the young generation, the third or fourth generation of Palestinians since 1948, are also determined, like their parents and grandparents, determined to return. This young generation is the graduating class of architectural institutions in many universities, and they are going to build or rebuild their villages of the past, and they actually rebuild them in the same spot, but of course with the different environment. Now, after 72 years, the Palestinian refugees are 10 times more than before, but they have, of course, more education, more determination, and more will to rebuild their patrimony. When they build their new villages, they have new data. We give them this new data. We give them, first of all, a list of villages to select from. When they select that village, we give them data, maps, aerial photos, reports about the village, all the data we have. We also give them projections of population as they would be today. We would also give them ideas about what they need in terms of schools, hospitals, and so on. So, in short, contrary to the myth that the young will forget, the young did not forget. And now they put their experience to action. Now it is on paper now, but it will be in reality in the near future, I hope. Let me just say a few words in Arabic. نكبة 1948 هي أكبر نكبة في تاريخ فلسطين منذ 4000 عام. لا يوجد نكبة مثلها لا في فلسطين ولا في أي مكان في العالم، اللي هو اقتلاع شعب بأكمله من أرضه والاستمرار في هذا ومنعه من العودة لمدة 72 عاما. ولكن هذا كله لم يضيع حقهم في العودة، ونقول أنه الصغار لم ينسوا. والآن نحن نتوجه كل عام إلى طلاب العمارة في أكبر عدد من الجامعات العربية وربما في المستقبل الأجنبية لكي يعيدوا بناء قراهم في نفس المكان بنفس الروح ولكن بالعصر الحديث. We have given each student data about the village they choose, and of course they have, after that, they have to develop their creative design. Now, in spite of Corona this year, and in spite of bad news about some Arab leaders betraying their people and flocking to the enemy's embrace, in spite of all that, this year we have 36 students participating from 5 universities, and they have submitted their designs in 16 teams. We have agreed this time to accept designs on the basis of a team rather than an individual. At the end of the year now, 12 teams have made it to the finish line. Now, we are fortunate and indeed grateful to the jury, our friends who consistently judge the submission year after year. I'd like to salute our jury who are now with us, all doctors, all professors, all distinguished architects. So I drop the titles for now. Nasser Golzari, Yara Sharif, Angela Brady. I really extend to them my gratitude because they have been sincerely and diligently following and managing this competition for 4 years. But this year, due to Corona and some shortage of staff, Dr. Yara Sharif carried personally the burden of receiving and classifying the submissions. She has done this in a specially condensed time, and I really extend to you, Yara, my sincere thanks for making this award possible today on the right time. And now, I would like to ask you, Yara, to tell us, and the other members of the jury also will speak, you tell us your views, comments about the submissions which you have received.
Thank you, Dr. Salman, for the intro, and thank you everybody for being here, really appreciated. It's been really fantastic to have you all with us, and it's very uplifting and hopeful to see 60 participants with us today. So if anything, it only proves that this is getting bigger and more successful, and the entries have certainly been fantastic and very unique. I mean, from my end, before I pass the platform also to Angela and Nasser, I thought that the submissions were really fantastic, but particularly I want to emphasize from an architectural point of view as tutors why we felt the submissions and the winners and shortlists were unique, because they did really demonstrate creative and unconventional ways of addressing the issue of Palestine, the issue of occupation, erasure. Very interesting notions have been approached creatively, like the aspect of memory, of loss, of remembrance, also recognizing the fact that Palestine as an identity keeps changing, and therefore the past, the present, and the future needs to be addressed differently. So what we felt was really unique this year is that we saw a lot of unconventional ways of addressing the landscape, unconventional ways beyond a functional resolution to the land, but more a very strong conceptual way of representing Palestine. And we really encourage that and salute you for that, and encourage you also for the next year to keep going with that and with your methods of representation. So congratulations, and I think I will pass the platform to my other colleagues, Angela and Nasser.
Thank you very much. Can I Maybe I could ask, I don't know how long we're going to have Angela with us, because I'm aware that she has other commitments.
Salman, Yara, Nasser, I think that you guys are such an inspiration to inspire the full team that are here around the Zoom call and well beyond. So for the 4th year running, I want to say a big congratulations to you guys, because it's been such a pleasure for me working with you. So thank you for asking me to continue.
Thank you.
When I read the competition entries, you know, I just feel they are so passionate, and I feel that I can hear the call, and I can see the designs and the ideas and everything that we are looking at. Is just so fantastic to see all of this passion and commitment in design for real projects that one day we hope to see will happen. I think that you are all to be commended, particularly working under these extra difficult circumstances, you know, to have produced the amount of work and the quality of the work, which is just top quality. You know, I'm involved in a few different universities in London, and these are, you know, equal, if not better, in a lot of the ideas that have come to the fore. So I really wanted to say it was a pleasure reading, looking at your drawings, and I'm learning all the time. You know, I've only been to Palestine once and to a few of the villages, but it's a great learning curve for somebody like me on the jury to look at all your ideas and to listen to your story. So don't ever think you're being forgotten. You're very much in our hearts and minds. So well done to everybody, and it was a pleasure to be involved again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Angela. First of all, let me just, on behalf of the jury, I virtually co-chaired the jury session today. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much indeed to the participants, because we know it's how difficult it is, given the special condition that we're living in, to maintain the energy. And I think it's been fantastic to have had 36 submissions and 16 teams. And it's actually quite nice to see so many of you now participating in this virtual meeting. The 4th year of this competition, which has been really maintained with the energy and commitment of Dr. Salman. And I admire that energy and the insistence, and it is unique. I must say that, because we've been here in England, we've been in so many competitions, so many events over the years, and it's so easy to just drop an event and not to have the commitment. But I think it's the social, political commitment of Dr. Salman that has maintained this, and of course the energy of the participants and the professors and advisors from the university. So thank you very much for that. So this 4th year has been quite difficult, as you know, with so many issues of the world being forgotten because of the COVID. And it's been diverted to other, you know, priorities. However, I think maintaining the 4th competition, even at some point there was possibility that it may not happen, meant that the discussion, the subject of Palestine and the occupation and the destruction of villages is not forgotten, and it stays on the agenda, and now we're discussing it. So that, I think, in itself is quite an achievement. And what has been really interesting also has been the fact that the competition every year has, as already been mentioned, and as we have experienced it as the members of the jury, the subjects that the students or the participants have been addressing, have been exploring, has developed, has become more complex, has become actually even more and more interesting in the way in which that the reconstruction of the villages are no longer about an urban planning or just some design driven by form, but actually has become more and more complex in the way in which some additional subjects, especially more complex multi kind of functional proposals have been made. And also what has been interesting on the entries has been the quality, which we like to obviously encourage, is one of the things we like to see more and more of the architecture and the skill and the formal quality of the submissions to improve. And that's always quite a joy to see how it has developed. So that was quite a revelation for us, and we actually enjoyed seeing them. One other important thing that I think Dr. Salman also mentioned, generally speaking, every year, this time of the year, we would be in London and we would have been having a major event, and you would have been present. I think to see in a positive way to the lockdown has made it be more or less a kind of have a similar experience of being isolated, but yet being virtually. Of course, you know, the experience that people in Gaza and the West Bank have is quite unique in the world, unfortunately, not in a good way. But however, I feel that perhaps this is slightly making us slightly more closer to you, knowing what it means to be locked out, to be isolated, and to some extent not to have access to all the right to the city as one should have. I know that everyone is quite eager to know what has actually happened with the competition results. But let me just say that the jury this year, we obviously worked virtually, we exchanged, and we had to go through some quite difficult files because they were quite large, because the technology no longer, due to the fact that everybody is using online, the technology is not addressing things anymore. However, we managed to go through all the entries. And as already Dr. Yara Sharif and Dr. Angela Brady has already mentioned, we were quite impressed by the entries. The jury was unanimous on the choice of the winner. The work of who would be announced later. The winners, the team presented their project in a very complex way, quite sensitive. We found it was quite creative. And actually amongst the entries, the kind of originality and the creative aspects of the project was quite welcomed, and the complexity of some of the functions that were proposed. But also we found that the other entries, there were some closer entries that we found it difficult not to give them any prize, because there were some sensitive and poetic proposals. So it's quite good. I hope that they could share their experience with us after Dr. Salman has announced the winners. And maybe they could just say a few words, maybe about the process, how they did their work, and just perhaps a 5 minutes presentation from each. But again, congratulations to everyone, all those who participated. I think participation is just as important in an event as well as whether they win or not to win. And I'd like to thank everyone again, as well as the jury, but mainly the participants for doing that. Thank you very much. And I now hand it over to Dr. Salman.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nasser. Thank you very much. I would have been remiss if not mention the role of the supervisors of the universities who help the students. This has been critical in the performance of the students. We have seen it year after year. We send probably a dozen documents to the students through their supervisor. And the supervisor is, of course, expected to pass on these documents to the students and explain them. And meanwhile, during the year, guide them in their work, so that he is shepherding the participants until they complete their work. We have seen year after year how the role of the supervisor is critical. I'm not going to give examples, but we can see it clearly in the final performance of the students. By the way, as a matter of procedure, we don't deal with the students directly. We only speak to the supervisor, who will in turn pass the information to the students. Also, this year, actually last year also, we accepted the idea of having teamwork. We always ask who will be the team leader, but a group working together is now acceptable. Actually, it was a suggestion of the jury last year, and now we have most groups are working, most submissions are done by groups rather than by individuals. One other remarks, we have submissions from non-Arab universities, Palestinians or Arab students in the United States or Europe, who would like to submit their designs individually. We are ready to accept that. So far, people have shown interest, but we'd like to develop that interest further. In other words, not only within Palestine and neighboring Arab countries, but we'd like to extend it further. One more point, we usually has good participation from the American University of Beirut. Regrettably, they have very difficult situation, and they regretted very much that they were unable to participate this year. I trust they will do that. Now, to our dear members of the jury, shall I then announce your results now? Nasser, Yara, yeah, okay, all right. Now, these are tense moments, but those who win or not win, they are very much appreciated for the work they have done. Let me, as usual, start in reverse order. We'll leave the biggest prize till the end. The jury has appreciated some submissions and gave them commendations grade. يعني بالعربي تقدير. This commendation goes to one team in the Najah University. This team is led by Izdihar Al-Ahmad as a team leader, and with Hala Sharif, member, and Sundus Sakhel, member. They were supervised at the University of Najah by Dr. Hassan Al-Qadi. So you got commendation, يعني درجة تقدير ممتاز, يعني جيد. Another grade of commendation was awarded to University of Petra for Shahid Iman Atiyah. By the way, her village, selected village, is Jundas Ramla. And the Najah group, their village was Azib في قضاء عكا, Acre district. Now, University of Petra students were supervised by Dr. Yasser Abu Hashim. And we have, I can see we have Amir Jokhdar also present. And of course we have Hadir, our good friend for many years, present here. All right, so this is the commendation grade of the work. The following one, going upwards, is the third prize. And this year, the third prize is not given. The jury found out that it is not given. Now we go to the second prize. The second prize goes to the Birzeit University with a team headed by Nasim Judah Abdul Rahim Fawalha, and his team consists of Amira, Adil, Shahada, Azawna. The group is ably supervised by Dr. Samar Another.
Our village was Al-Ma'lul al-Nasra.
Yes.
Okay, I'm a bit surprised.
Mabruk.
No, الله يبارك فيكم.
Amira, would you like to share a screen or do you want me to share your posters?
Okay, you can.
Okay, I'll share your posters, and maybe I was wondering also, Dr. Salman, if you don't mind, also the commended may also explain their project also after you announce the first winner as well, so we get a bit of a feel of all the projects that have won. So I will share my screen now, the poster of your project.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I am just going to pause on the 3D and then you can explain the projects.
Okay, this is the old village of Ma'lul. It has been destroyed in 1984. What remained was 2 churches and 1 mosque. Most of the people were lived in this area. We decided to make this area more a cultural area and for tourists. So we made different areas in this master plan. We have a hostel for the tourists. Okay, that's the master plan for Ma'lul. Okay, we see the borders of the village in that brown color. The one with the green is in agricultural areas. Okay, the idea of the village is to be an agricultural and tourist village. So we decided to put different functions in it so people could visit this village. Okay, at the first we see the location of Ma'lul. It's in the north of Palestine. The other picture shows the roads that goes through the village and next to the village. We could go to Nasra, to Yafa, Tabariya, and all those villages. We see here the airport. Okay.
اوكي، هي قرية معلول، هي واقعة في محافظة الناصرة. في عدة قرى مهجرة حواليها كمان. بقطعها الشارع الرئيسي اللي هو بوصلها لمحافظة الناصرة من جهة الشرق ومن المدن الساحلية من جهة الغرب. الأشياء ممكن أميرة تنزلي تحت.
The site is in Nazareth district and is well connected to the coastal sites from the western side.
القرية الأشياء الوحيدة الروينز المتبقية في القرية هم عبارة عن مسجد وكنيستين، إحداهما كاثوليكية وأرثوذكسية.
The ruins are left are 1 mosque and 2 churches.
هلا في عام 1948 كان في مركز القرية القديم ما تبقى الموجود فيها اللي هو البيوت القديمة والمسجد والكنيستين والأراضي الزراعية من زيتون وتين وغيرها من الأشجار. وبعد الاحتلال اللي تبقى فيها الكنيستين والجامع، وقام الاحتلال بزراعة الغابات فوق هاي القرية. فكانت الفكرة إنه يصفي في هلا إذا بنشوف بالخارطتين هون عام 1997 وعام 1948 الفرق اللي صار. فالفكرة إنه يصير في دمج بين هدول اللايرز، نرجع حدود المباني القديمة الموجودة في القرية مع الحفاظ على الغابات التي نتجت من قبل الاحتلال الإسرائيلي.
Okay, خليني أترجم. So the main idea behind the concept is the issue of layering, particularly because what has been left in the village is only the mosque and the 2 churches. The students felt that one of the key significant aspects is this 2 historic maps, 1947 versus 220. In 47, we see the actual village, while as in 2020, we see how the kind of colonial way of erasing the landscape have been done through planting pine trees which are not indigenous to the context. So the idea behind the layering has been to bring back the boundaries of the original footprints of the historic center.
تمام. هسا الشيء اللي بدنا نحكيه كمان، الشيء المميز في المشروع انه في داخل حدود قريتنا مستوطنة، فاحنا كيف بدنا نتعامل مع هاي المستوطنة لنقدر نحولها لمنطقة او مكان سكني. هسا المستوطنة هي عبارة عن كتل مثل ما احنا شايفينها بالصفحة تحت. فاحنا كان الكونسبت
مش هاي اللي قبلها،
الصفحة اللي فوقها تحت، اللي فوق. ايوه عندك المستوطنة هي على اليمين تحت. فاحنا حاولنا نتعامل مع هاي المستوطنة، نحافظ على الكتل الموجودة، وفي نفس الوقت كيف بدنا نغير من نمط التخطيط اللي سائد في هذيك المنطقة، بإضافة كتل أو ممكن بإضافة شوارع أو حذف شوارع، لأن البنية التحتية مش جيدة في هذيك المنطقة، فإحنا قدرنا نتحكم فيها بطريقة سهلة.
So one of the interventions in this, the way to address the site has also been to address the issue of having a settlement, a colonial settlement on site, which is obviously an alien to the context. So the idea has been to break into the tissue of this settlement by breaking into the road system as a form of intervention, particularly that there has been no infrastructure within the village. So they kind of reappropriated the settlement in a way that serves their own purpose.
تمام. عندنا الماستر بلان هان.
هاد زوم ان للماستر القديم لمركز القرية القديمة، تحولت من منطقة سكنية لمنطقة ثقافية وسياحية للسكان. بالمنطقة تحت تم إنشاء نزل للسياح القادمين في المنطقة، مع العلم إنه السياحة ما اقتصرت فقط في هاي القرية وإنما في المناطق المجاورة أيضا. في أكثر من نشاطات سياحية رح تكون في هاي القرية. في عنا بوسط القرية مركز ثقافي، في عنا سواء للدبكة، دبكة، طبخ، رقص، فنون، موسيقى وغيرها. طبعا في جزء من هاي المنطقة سوق وسكن للسياح، الهدف منها لإبقاء السياح في القرية وإحياء هاي المنطقة. آخر إشي في عنا هون المعرض في المنطقة الشمالية من القرية اللي بتربط بين الكنيستين والجامع اللي عنا هون، وتحت في عنا section.
Sorry, so the emphasis has been on, because the tourism sector has been active around the village and obviously not within the village, so the students have taken this as a key aspect while designing the village to make it as a touristic attraction, but also addressing the issue of the museum, keeping the focal points on the mosques. Can you tell us a bit more about your massing and proportions and how you also dealt with the landscape?
Yeah.
So you've got 1 minute.
Okay. اوكي، هون عندنا اللي هو التكتيل للمنطقة السياحية، تتوزع على حوالي 12 كورت. في كل كورت في عنا من 4 ل 5 بيوت نزل للسياح. كانت الفكرة بناء القديم مع إضافة كتل جديدة، بس من خلال استخدام ماتيريال جديدة بتميز بين القديم والجديد الموجود عنا. فالفكرة إعادة إحياء السكن ولكن بطراز حديث. بالقسم الثاني اللي هو
حلو، خليني بس أترجم.
المركز
the aim of this particular intervention is to bring back some of the traditional ways of living within the village within a contemporary touch, which is the idea of the courtyard and how the houses are cluttered around it. However, what's been nice about this project is the way that it's been reappropriated with its contemporary spirit. So you could see in the section kind of different levels of dropped low-level courtyards and elevated terraces within the section. So I'm gonna go to the this page, and maybe we can, if you can tell us a little bit more about these views, so we can conclude.
هاي المنطقة السكنية الموجودة في المستوطنة الحالية في القرية. طبعا احنا اخذنا الليفل الجراوند لهي البيوت، هي عبارة عن كتل المستوطنة نفسها، واحنا بنشوف الماستر بلان في الديتيل فوق البوستر هذا، بنشوف ان في عدة كتل مضافة بجانب الكتل المستوطنة، وترتيب هذول الكتل مع بعض هم خلقوا لنا الكورتس فوق. والنمط السكني المنتشرة في القرية هان هي سكن ريفي. اعتمدنا على السكن الريفي انه يكون في نسبة من المساحة الزراعية على محيط البيت، ليصير في اكتفاء ذاتي عندنا من المواد الغذائية اللي بتنتج منها هذه الأراضي، غير الأراضي اللي احنا بنستخدمها للاقتصاد الدولة اللي شفناها في الماستر بلان. وكمان اعتمدنا في هاي الماستر بلان الديتيل انه يكون الباركينجز على المحيط المناطق السكنيه، بحيث انهم يكملوا مشوارهم لداخل المناطق السكنيه ماشي على الاقدام. واحنا بنشوف الماستر بلان كمان الكورتس اللي بربط هاي المنازل مع بعض. طبعا بالنسبه للتكتيل احجامهم متفاوت عشان يسد عدد افراد العائله الفلسطينيه اللي بدها ترجع، اللي هو معدلها طبيعي من 4 ل 5 افراد، فاحنا حطينا مساحات مختلفه من هاي المساكن المتوزعه في القريه.
خليني أترجم. There has been a lot of play on massing, which we thought also was quite successful in the project. The massing itself contributed towards creating the different levels of courtyards, as you see in this key section. The massing also varied in its scale and size and number to accommodate the number of families, but also overall the design tried to address this issue of a rural house where the aspect of agriculture takes a bigger scale in comparison to the domestic scale, and this is an aspect that they have tried also to introduce within the project. Also there was a creativity, probably you didn't mention it now, there was a creativity in how you dealt with the skin, bringing in the aspect of stone, the idea of the leveling, the heavy mass at the bottom, and the kind of more lighter floating aspect at the top, which we thought was also very interesting and creative. I'm sorry we have to stop you here for the aspect of time, and well done for your presentation. I think Nasser wanted to say something, but he was muted.
No, I think it was just I wanted to just express the opinion of jury that we found the project, especially the last 2-3 slides, where exactly the one slides that now we're looking on we see in the screen, but the fact that some more contemporary view of the architecture has been placed, and there's a very interesting sense of materiality, the use of seems to be like maybe it's Gabion around there for some more passive kind of materials, but also the geometry and the housing unit, the courtyard spaces are quite gently and quite sensitively designed. And what we liked about this project was the fact that there was a good, consistent, sensitive attention from the scale from going up and all the way zooming into the courtyard spaces. And I think what I would have said, for the future, if you like, you should celebrate, the team should celebrate more and more the way in which you represent your ideas in terms of the three-dimensional aspect, the expression of the architecture and the landscape.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Okay,
so,
shall we move on to?
of course.
Just thank you very much, Yara and Nasser, for the light you shed on the design, so that the student work has been recognized, and the grading was given to them is based on careful analysis. Thank you very much. I have to add two things I forgot to add. One is that the prize, second prize, is 750 sterling pounds for them. The Ma'lul village, as you know, at least the students know because they studied it, was attacked in 15th of July 1948 by Dikil operation, and they have completely depopulated the village. Next morning, they depopulated or actually attacked Nazareth, but for many reasons they did not depopulate them. The people of Ma'lul have been exiled to the West Bank, to Jordan, to Lebanon, and to Syria. So they went exiled to 4 different places. The land area of Ma'lul is 5,000 dunams, and the refugees from Ma'lul today are 9,000 people. And so this should give them not only a bit of hope, a lot of hope that their children and their grandchildren have not forgotten Ma'lul. Yara and Nasser, can I move to the next one? All right. The first prize is coming now. It is the result of teamwork. Do we have anybody?
Sorry, did Angela want to say something? Just
Angela, I thought Angela was.
Oh, maybe she's saying goodbye.
I think
you're mute, Angela.
She sent a message. She sent a message that she's...
Angela, you're mute.
Unmute. Sorry.
Oh,
I have to go, but I just wanted to say, well done, everybody. Thank you so much. And Salman, again, it's just been so fantastic to be involved. So best of luck to everybody, and thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Angela.
Thank you, Angela.
Of the jury from day one. Thank you very much. We'll see you next year, inshallah. All right.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Okay. We go now to the first prize. Is there anybody from Gaza present? Yes? All right.
There is.
The jury decided that the first prize in this competition goes to a group, a team headed by Maha Jamal Hamdan Mansour, and the team members are Ala Wael Abdul Mun'im Hamad, Asma Abdul Majid Al-Saqqa, Isra Ismail Ahmed Abu Qumsan, Divan As'ad Adallah Ali. They are all from the Islamic University of Gaza. Their village is Suhmata in قضاء عكا. ما في واحد قال مديرية، ما في فلسطين في إيكر، يعني قصدي قضاء عكا. طبعا معروف إنه سحماتة تهجرت في 30 أكتوبر 1948. The population today of Suhmata or refugees are 15,000. There has been atrocities while they attacked the village. They killed a blindfolded child in front of his father. The people are exiled in Lebanon and Syria. One of the distinguished personalities of Suhmata is Abu Maher al-Yamani, who is the head of the Palestinian Labor Union and a great resistance leader. Now, I leave the microphone to the members of the team. ألا مها، أنت مها منصور؟
نعم. مها عم تحكي؟
نعم.
أيوة. Okay, Yara, take over please.
يلا مها وأسماء وولاء. آلاء. ألف مبروك المشروع والتخرج، وكمان بقيادة سيدات، فألف مبروك و warmest congratulations to your submission.
في عنا 6 بوسترز للمشروع. المشروع الأول لوحة بتحكي عن الباست ريبريزنت كيف كانت صحماتها زمان وكيف الآن. هي من قضاء عكا. واللوحة اللي على اليمين هي خطوط الكونتور وكيف كيف الكونتور تبع صحماتها. بعد هيك حكينا عن صحماتها قبل 48 كيف كانت، يعني هذا شرح عن كيف كانت زمان والآن كيف هي صحماتها today، كيف صحماتها. في عنا مستوطنتين موجودين وفي الوسط بينهم في اللي هي القرية القديمة. في مشروع استيطان كتير كبير معمول اللي هي القرية البركة الصناعية المنفرد ليك.
خليني بس أترجم دقيقة. So Sohmata today, which is this tiny, the tiny square, is surrounded by 2 settlements from the east and the north. And it is now obviously ruins, and it's surrounded by also a series of a road system that is encirculating the village as well. اتفضلي كملي.
لقيت اللوحتين تحكي عن فكرة تصميمية أو الفكرة تبعت التصميم كانت هي إنه بدنا نعمل بالانس بين إنه كيف الناس بتحلم إنهم ولا مرة يعني هم حلموا إنهم ما يطلعوش من القرية. الثاني إشي بدنا نعمل بالانس بينه اللي هو الواقع تبع القرية، لأنه فعلا القرية دمرت كليا، فيش بيوت وفي مستوطنتين وفي مشروع استيطاني، وكمان إنه نحن نعمل بالانس بين الريكويرمنتس المتطلبات اللي إحنا بدنا إياها لما ترجع عنا السكان على القرية.
There was a lot of emphasis in this project about speculating or dreaming that future. What would you want the village to be like in the future? Which also the jury felt was a significant and an interesting aspect of how the village has been addressed. تفضلي.
أول شيء 3 أشياء اللي هي الكونسبت أو دريمز. كيف الناس هاي كانت عبارة عن إحنا تتبعنا الموفمنت تبعت الناس، وكمان خلينا السيرفيسز تبعتهم اللي كانت زمان في نفس المكان الموجود حاليا. ليش؟ لأنه إحنا دايما الناس يعني لما يكون في حدا كبير بيحكي لهم مثلا زمان كان في عنا مسجد بعد هيك بنمشي الشارع القبال وبنلاقي بيتنا وهكذا، يعني بحددوا علامات بيوتهم بالأماكن المشهورة اللي كانت عندهم. فالأماكن هاي الببليك سيرفيسز بتاعت زمان خليناها في نفس الأماكن. أول شيء من القرية القديمة كان في عنا تشيرج وكان في عنا الموسك، كانوا كتير قراب من بعض وكان في تسامح ديني، كان في tolerance between اللي هو المسلمز والكريستيانز. فكانت فكرتنا الأولى إن إحنا نعمل تسامح ديني بينهم، إن إحنا نخلي المسجد مكانه والكنيسة مكانها، ونعمل بينهم common yard أو public yard تجمع ما بينهم، بيبدوا بينها التحيات، بيلتقوا فيها بالأعياد عشان يعمل تسامح، ونفس اللي كان قبل ال 48.
هي بالأصل كانت في مساحة موجودة اسمها الرحبة، فإحنا حافظنا على الرحبة هذه، كانوا يعمل فيها المناسبات الاجتماعية، فإحنا حافظنا عليها، صورنا عليها على أساس إنه يعني تستوعب أهل القرية العائدين.
Okay, أعطوني دقيقة بس أترجم. So one of the key aspects the team wanted to emphasize on is people's association with the space. And I think this is also a very unique and significant aspect in the submission, because it's known with the elderly, they always talk about that spot near the tree, the house, so the physical elements, the artifacts of the village, they intentionally wanted to keep it as they are. They didn't want to change the infrastructure of the village or the reorganization. The only aspect that they wanted to celebrate further is addressing what they call a common yard, which you see in blue, which they felt is a kind of a common space between the mosque and the church to create and celebrate a openness between the religions that always existed in Palestine. They also wanted to preserve the yard that is called the Rahba, which is known where people used to hold their celebrations, which is kind of an equivalent of a public space or a piazza, even though the concept of a piazza doesn't exist in its literal sense in a rural Palestine, but it's a kind of its function is very similar between the families. تفضلي.
بعد الدريمز بدينا في الرياليتي، انه احنا في عنا تو سيتلمنتس وفي عنا كمان اماكن جديده بدنا نعملها عشان الناس تيجي تعيش فيها. فكان هذا شرح بسيط انه كيف زي بابل زونز. بدينا اول شيء في الوسط اللي هي البلده القديمه اللي فيها الميوزيوم، بعدين وزعنا فيها اللي هو الأحياء السكنية اللي حواليها، وكان استخدامنا برضو أو دمجنا التو سيتلمنتس مع الماستر بلان نستخدمها في الهاوسنج. كانت هذا اللي هو الدريمز. بالنسبة للريكويرمنتس فصلنا إنه كل الإديوكيشن إيش كم مدرسة حسب طبعا كل نسبة كل عمر من الشعب الفلسطيني قديش بده، يعني نسبة الشباب من مثلا عمر من 0 ل4 من المدرسة الأساسية قديش بدها مدارس وهكذا. هاي كانت بالنسبة للكونسبت.
So the distribution of functions were done as bubbles. The propositions were done as small clusters of bubbles that includes different functions like agricultural as well as other residential aspects, housing, it's as you see on the drawing, and they took into account the demography of Palestine and what are the different age groups that exist and distributed functions according to them. Ladies, it will be nice to hear a bit more about your idea of the museum. If you move on a little bit faster and tell us about the museum and
yes.
how you the idea came about it.
Master plan of the old Suhmata. This is the old now. أسمع تحكي عشان هي
هالإذا إحنا ركزنا بالأول أخذنا البلدة القديمة كيف كانت، وحافظنا على الاستخدامات اللي هي يعني سحماتها ما كانش موجود فيها غير حيطان كنيسة بس، هي اللي كان المتبقي فيها، والرحبة والبركة بركة الرئيسية تاعت. إيش عملنا في البلدة القديمة؟ حافظنا على الاستخدامات اللي كانت، حافظنا عن المسجد والكنيسة ومكان السوق الشعبي بس طورناه شوية، والرحبة أخذناها وخليناها زي ما هي إنه تستخدم كساحة اجتماعات للمناسبات الاجتماعية تاعت القرية، ودمجناها بمتحف مفتوح للآثار المتبقية اللي هو الحجارة المتبقية، وكمان حطينا إنه هو صور من البلدة القديمة كانت موجودة، ودمجنا هذا المتحف في بابليك بارك. وكانت في عنا عشان نحافظ على البركة الرئيسية وباختلاف المناسيب، في كان عنا 21 متر باختلاف المناسيب، فإحنا خلقنا زي بركة منها منظر جمالي ومنها إنه البركة الرئيسية تاعت السحمات القديمة ما تنشفش يعني وتوصل عليها المية. وكمان دمجنا البلدة القديمة إنه حواليها يضلهم السكان على أساس إنه ربط أهالي سحماتها في بلدتهم القديمة ما تنتساش يعني.
Hello. So one aspect of the proposal has been the open air museum, but also connecting the open air museum which try to kind of frame or celebrate the ruins in the village, which there weren't many of them, but also there was the rahba, which is what we call the open space. So they wanted to celebrate that within an open space, but also take advantage of collecting rainwater through this floating museum or floating aspect where the water will be preserved, will be revived, which is already building on the old pond that has been in the village itself. So the pond became an important spatial features within the overall discussion of how to revive the historic center.
بدي أروح على ال 3D views على البارك أو المتحف.
I love this floating museum.
We felt that the museum was very creative because it was very unconventional in the way it's been addressed, how the artifacts have been displayed in a floating aspect, also the conceptual way of addressing the function of the village beyond just function of residential, touristic, or commercial, or industrial. The conceptual way of doing this was really unique, and that also applies actually for the Petra University winners as well, who had a lot of interesting ideas in a similar metaphorical way about the idea of memory and erasure. So bravo alaikum, well done.
شكرا.
Thank you. Thank you, Yara. Thank you, Nasser, very much.
And
As you can see,
Sorry,
Sorry,
can I
you
just?
have a comment? Go.
Yeah, I just want to
Nasser,
say
please go
yes.
ahead.
Can I just first of all congratulate the Gaza team. As I said at the beginning, that the jury was unanimous about the choice of the winner. There was no discussion really after we saw the entries. There was no discussion who was which team was going to win it. It was very, very clear. And what I liked about personally about the project, which is something that I know with Dr. the others, we always talk about how we can, if you like, guide or we can advise teams to develop these ideas further. One of the things that I really like about the project is that it works at a number of levels. The number of levels, one of the key things was the fact that it celebrates, it takes on very ordinary, everyday ideas of the dream and the speculating how something could be actually much more hopefully developed. And I think the idea of the dream is very important. We have to have dreams. If we don't dream, we're actually dead, you know, if we cannot, especially as architects and designers, the idea of being able to dream. And also taking this much further in terms of the everyday. I think the kind of concept of this floating museum on the water where it used to be an ordinary water well, which kind of the elderly associate with. It's a very interesting, very kind of sensitive and observative thing. I think this is one of the things that architecture a lot of time fails to address, the importance of small things, the ordinary things that actually matters quite a lot to local and to people, and it's not necessarily just the iconic building, or the old historic buildings only. So I think that's really got to be something that we've always been looking for. And this year, the Gaza team is the first time actually that we see a very sensitive approach to very important little things that matters most to non, if you like, architectural experience. Also, what I thought was interesting was the fact that this agriculture was developed, but separately, and it wasn't mixed with the housing. The housing is very separate, but also the idea of production and economy is addressed. It's quite important for us when we're looking at reconstruction of destroyed villages or contested lands to remember that economy is such an important aspect of our life and of sustainability, social and economic sustainability. We cannot just redesign, create old forms, old fabric, old materials, if there is no economy, if the production, the kind of collective aspect is forgotten. And in this case, I thought that was quite nice, quite important, that the agriculture, the housing was very separate, and you had the kindergarten, which was quite good, and the museum and so on. And the third thing which I really liked about the project was the fact that it was very contemporary, the architectural forms and the spaces very well integrated, but also it was not just repeating the old past. There is nothing with the old past except that what was produced 150 years ago, 200 years ago, considered probably quite modern at the time. So to reproduce that today, it just shows, I think, in many cases, it shows that the architecture or the designer is not able to address contemporary dreams. In this case, the Gaza team did. So well done. And I think you worked very well. The drawings, again, seem quite consistent, and they're very well done. I think this project, Dr. Salman, I think really is worth publishing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nasser. Thank you, Dr. Yara. You really make my heart, so happy to see that these young people, 72 years after Nakba in Gaza, produce such wonderful work. There are so many things to consider, not only their bright mind, but also they live in a situation where they are under siege for 14 years. Now they have curfew because of Corona. Regularly, the Israeli planes bomb Gaza. Children are killed, women are killed. It's a situation unexpected, unknown in history. Yet those young women have produced this wonderful work, not only because they have good imagination, but they have really connected Gaza, which is the southern part of Palestine, to Suhmata, which is the northern part of Palestine, Galilee. And therefore, they believe, and their conviction is that Palestine is one, and their duty is to recreate it. The idea that all the team is made of women, this is also a very good sign that our half of the people in Palestine are very active and they have their place to play. Considering that the lack of resources and the information they can get because they are under siege, it's wonderful they have replaced this lack of material knowledge by great creativity and great imagination. I mean, I hear Yara and Nasser explaining their design, and I'm not only impressed, I'm amazed how they could think of these things out of their own imagination. They have no way to drive and see the place and examine the territory and the terrain, yet they have imagined it so wonderfully. That's why they deserve the first prize of 1,000 sterling pounds for the team. 1,000 pounds for the team. And we hope that we will take up their work, as Dr. Nasser said, publish it or use it. And we certainly will not only make use of it, but also it will be inspiration for the young architects next year, year 5. We are still determined to keep on with this. So we'll have, every year we'll have a great sign of brilliance among our people. Thank you, Maha. Thank you for your team. Ala, Ala, Asma, Isra, Divan. We will be in touch with you for the prize and for other things. Thank you very much. Keep up the spirit. I just, as an old man, would tell you one thing. Israel took our land by force, took every kilometer by force with no legal justification whatsoever, but they have not one thing they will never have from us: the title deed to Palestine. We still hold our title deed, يعني الكشان تبع فلسطين is still in our hands. We will never give it away. And their hope, which will never happen, that we'll surrender and give up Palestine. We will never do that. Palestine is our country, and with young people like you, carrying the banner for the future very well. Thank you. We'll be in touch. And thanks again for our wonderful jury who have been steadfast with us for all these years. Thank you very much.
It'd be nice to have the last word from the Gaza team. Is it possible just to have a...
Yes, yes, please do. Do you have anything to say, Maha, or your team?
بنحب نسمع آخر كلمة من فريق غزة. بتحبوا تحكوا إشي؟
لا بالعربي معلش.
مش قصة تحكي أسماء؟
احكي يا مها.
تمام، شكرا لكم إنه قدرنا نحن نسجل هاي، برغم إنه إحنا عن جد ما قدرناش نلتقي مع بعض، إنه في يعني حجر صحي، بس كنا نشتغل عن طريق الإنترنت، وكان إشي شوي صعب بالنسبة لنا، بس الحمد لله قدرنا نسلم على الوقت. شكرا لكم. إن شاء الله رح نضلنا، لأن إحنا أصلاً اشتغلنا مشروع تخرج عن قرية تانية، فيمكن إشي كمان كان بصالحنا. اشتغلنا صوبة قبل هيك، عدنا إحيائها، واشتغلنا هاي كمان قرية، وإن شاء الله رح نكمل. شكرا لكم.
Thank you very much. The ladies are saying, sorry, بس أترجم وبتكملي. The ladies are saying that it has been a challenge because they've been working also with lockdown, so themselves they couldn't meet, they had to meet virtually. So it's a double challenge in addition to the isolation that they're going through. But they have done previously work on their major thesis also on another village, and they are hoping that they can keep the teamwork, and I think you do a good job. Sorry, اتفضلي أسماء.
بس بدي أحكي كلمة واحدة، إنه فلسطين وقراها حتضلها في ذاكرتنا وفي قلوبنا، وحندرسها لأجيال أجيالنا.
Asma is saying that Palestine will always stay in our hearts and memory, and hope we will pass this to all the future generation. يعني to finish even the discussion with such an important statement is already a huge success to the competition. We're very proud of you all, the young generation. يعني موفقين وبترفعوا الراس.
شكرا.
مبروك لكم جميعا. وبحب أقول لكم أنتم الآن غطيتوا قرية شحماتة قضاء عكا، وبعدين معلول قضاء الناصرة، وقبلها الفريق تبع جامعة بترا قرية جنداش في الرملة، والفريق تبع النجاح عمل إعمار لقرية الزيب أيضا قضاء عكا. فخلال شهر هنحط قائمة جديدة للقرى اللي معروضة للسنة القادمة للمسابقة، وهنبلغكم بكل المعلومات. فخبروا زملائكم اللي في الصفوف اللي أقل منكم اللي على وشك يتخرجوا إنهم يقدموا يشاركوا معنا في year 5 في السنة الخامسة من ذلك. وبدنا نقول عاد لبن غوريون، نقول له يتقلب في قبره، الصغار لم ينسوا، بالعكس استعملوا خبراتهم الفنية لإعادة بناء فلسطين اللي دمروها حجراً ولم يدمروها عقلاً وقلباً وروحاً وتاريخاً وجغرافيا. وشكراً جميعاً لكل من ساهم في هذا العمل.
شكراً. ممكن بس one final word لطلاب العمارة بما إنكم معنا. I want to encourage you, because the whole also aim of this competition, what's nice about it is that it's trying to also liberate us mentally and geographically. If we can't reach each other's physically, but we can virtually get connected. Today we got to know very important villages in Palestine that we were not able to reach. I just want to encourage you that also we want to take advantage of this competition to also widen our knowledge as architects, because that's our tool, that's our weapon to fight for our cause and right. So try also to take advantage of seeing other experiences of architecture around you. I just want to suggest that maybe you want to have a look at the what we call RIBA Silver Medal submission. RIBA Silver Medal اللي هي Royal Institute of British Architects سيلفر ميدال، المعهد الملكي للمعماريين. الطلاب العمارة السنة الأخيرة عادة بيقدموا مشاريعهم التخرج لهاي المسابقة، وبيكون في وأي حدا بيقدم بينزل مشروع التخرج على الويب سايت. فهي طريقة إنه أنتوا to publicize yourself، وكمان تشوفوا شو الطلاب من أنحاء العالم بيقدموا. It's an international competition، بشجعكم تقدموا عليها جميع اللي مشتركين معنا، وكمان هي وسيلة إنه نشوف من حوالين العالم شو الطلاب بيفكروا وكيف بيشتغلوا، وهذا إشي مهم إلنا بفلسطين. Thank you very much.
شكرا لكم جميعا.
شكرا دكتور
شكرا
سلمى.
مرة أخرى ولا أمل من ذلك. شكرا للجوري اللي وقفوا معنا دائما في ظروف صعبة، وإن شاء الله next year we'll have more and more students coming in.
Inshallah.
Do you hear me?
Well done everyone. And Dr. Salman, well done for your hard work.